The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering in-person and online graduate programs in public policy and data analytics. Admissions now open at umass.edu/SPP.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we write on buildings. And you can too at the Jones Library topping off ceremony. No, it's not from Heated Rivalry. It's where we will take a tour of the current construction of the new Jones Library.
Although when they reopen, I'm sure you can rent all the BL that you want to.
I'm sure they'll be there.
But first, an avalanche of activity on the Capitol Hill front, for which the congressman for the 2nd District has a most unenvied front row seat.
What are you going to do if RFK Jr. goes after your Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, then I'm going to be in the streets protesting. It's one of the very few joys I have left.
We may get to that when it comes to the Farm Bill later in this conversation.
All right.
Time for our weekly conversation with the U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Congressman Jim McGovern. It has been a wild week with the nation and the world, it seems, at war. On Monday, Congressman, you tweeted, "Trump promised to end wars, bring down prices, and expose pedophiles. He's starting wars, raising prices, and protecting pedophiles." I know the House is set today to vote on a war powers resolution at the time of our conversation, which, pulling back the veil, has to happen early in the morning due to the congressman's schedule. This war powers resolution has yet to be voted upon. But Politico, thinking that House Republican leaders are confident that this bipartisan resolution will fail. A Senate version failed yesterday to rein in Trump's authority to pursue this war in Iran, which he has now been referring to as a war. It seems that a small group of Democrats are also expected to oppose this war powers resolution, which is the reason that it's likely to fail. Does the tone change when the nation goes to war in Congress to support our troops, rather than why are we supporting our troops going into harm's way for no well-articulated reason?
Yeah, I support and respect and honor our troops. That's why I'm opposed to this war. And by the way, what is really frustrating to me is like the controversy around this War Powers Act that we're trying to debate today in Congress. What this does, if it passes, basically says, okay, you now need to have a full-throated debate on the merits or the lack of merits of going to war, and then every member of Congress needs to go on record as voting for the war, essentially voting for the use of the use of military force, or you're against it. So it's putting members of Congress on record, and I'm sorry that maybe makes some people uncomfortable, but war is a big deal, and you ought to go on record. I have lots and lots of complaints about George W. Bush, but I will say this about him: when it came to the war in Iraq, he came to Congress and he asked for an AUMF, an authorization for the use of military force. I voted against it. A majority of people voted for it, but that was the appropriate way to go to war if, in fact, you wanted to go to war. Again, I think it was a mistake, but at least Congress was on record, voting for or against. And I don't understand why everybody's, running every which way to dodge taking responsibility for this. This is a mistake. We were not attacked. There's no imminent threat of nuclear war. I mean, Donald Trump, in his own words, said that he obliterated their nuclear capability when we bombed Iran last. And the other thing here is that, going into Iran, the way we're doing this, is also setting a very dangerous precedent. You're Vladimir Putin, and you're saying, hey, the United States can do whatever the hell they want, going into Venezuela, now attacking Iran. We can continue and double down on our efforts to go into Ukraine. You're President Xi in China, and you're saying, well, hey, you know what? We want Taiwan. Let's do this now. We can get away with it now. So this is a very, very dangerous moment, not just for our country, but for the entire globe.
Do you feel the tone shift in Congress, even amongst your colleagues in the Democratic Party, when it gets to this level where they may be vocally critical of Trump and what he's been doing and his desire to go into Iran, but when those first bombs fall, it seems like as I mentioned, support our troops. It happened with the Iraq War, which you mentioned that you voted against that authorization.
Right.
But does the narrative change internally, even in the Democratic Party at that point?
You know, I don't know whether that's what's happening or whether or not people are just, you know, I hate to say this, I mean, sticking their finger up and seeing which way the wind is blowing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we are trying to avoid a full debate on this tells me the members of Congress are not taking this seriously enough. I mean, if this is such a big deal, if this is such a serious thing, then we ought to be debating it. We ought to be deliberating on it. We ought to be voting on it. You ought to go on record as saying, yeah, I voted to send American forces into harm's way. I think this war was justified. You have to say, I think this is a mistake, you know, and it's a dangerous mistake. And the fact that people are twisting themselves in knots to be able to try to figure out a way to vote against this initial vote that we're having today is really frustrating. Look, we're spending billions and billions of dollars a day already on this. And I would argue we're not enhancing our national security one bit. But at the same time, we're spending billions of dollars a day. I mean, we're being told we can't extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. We debated a farm bill until like 2 o'clock in the morning today that increases hunger in this country, that maintains the $200 billion of cuts in SNAP, that cuts out SNAP Ed money, cuts out all kinds of monies that would actually help deal with the issue of food insecurity. I mean, you know, we're told we don't have the money to do that. Yeah, we have billions of dollars to go to war in Iran. Look, Iran's a rotten, has a rotten government. The Ayatollah is a rotten, mean, horrific human rights violator. You know, we should condemn him every chance we get. But there are lots of terrible people in this world, and there are lots of rotten governments in this world. Do we then go into do we invade every country? And do we attack and go to war with every country whose government we disagree with? Again, there are other ways to resolve our differences with Iran. Barack Obama actually negotiated a nuclear deal, which was working. Trump scrapped it. They tried to get back to the negotiating table. My understanding is that they were actually making some progress. And then for whatever reason, you know, Trump woke up and said, okay, let's go to war in Iran today. And so here we are. The danger is not that Iran's going to beat us on the battlefield. The danger is more long term. They have proxies all over the world. This endangers the American citizenry more, you know, especially if they're traveling overseas. And, you know, Iran is in this, you know, not for a year, but for 100 years or 200 years.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, the Ayatollah was killed over the weekend during these airstrikes. Yeah. At what point does Trump, in this war that he's given myriad reasons as to why it started, none of which are a cohesive reason, and neither has Marco Rubio or anyone else surrounding this, at what point does the Trump administration declare victory and just walk away from this? Or are you hearing anything about a timeline for how long this could last? Trump has said several things about this could be a long incursion here. What would victory look like to the point where this would then end?
I have no idea how Trump thinks or how his people think. I mean, look, we went to war against Venezuela, and we were told it was to get rid of Maduro, who was this, you know, rotten dictator oppressing his people. Well, what we did is we kidnapped Maduro. We put his vice president in charge, who is a female version of Maduro. She has doubled down on the repression because they're afraid that the CIA is trying to ferment counter-revolution in Venezuela. So the quality of life for the people of Venezuela has gotten no better. In fact, it's gotten worse in many respects. And, you know, he's got a deal for oil companies. That's it. The thing in Venezuela was, victory for him was, I got a deal for the people who contributed greatly to my campaign, big oil, and so I'm happy with that. I don't know what victory for him looks like in Iran. I just know this, that Iran is not Venezuela. And it is a lot more complicated in the Middle East than I think he even appreciates. And I even think some of his advisors, and I think even Marco Rubio, I mean, I'm not a fan of his, and I don't appreciate his constant caving to the extreme elements of the Trump administration. But I've got to believe that he's smart enough to know that they're entering very, very dangerous territory. And it's not like that we're going to get hit with a nuclear bomb or Iranian soldiers are going to invade the United States or take over our embassies. But our embassies are now in much more danger. It's Iran's proxies that now have been put on full alert that we need to be worried about. And again, we did not have to be here. This is not a war of necessity. This is a war of choice. And I think it's a careless and dangerous choice that this president has made.
I saw a poll that said that the public approval of this war in Iran is around 34%, which was close to the level of support from the American public at the end of the Vietnam War. This is at the very beginning of this. The United States has teamed up with Israel on this bombing campaign. Both President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are under some legal threat. And as I mentioned at the beginning, you tweeted that this is something that could be a distraction from all of the other things that Trump is embroiled in. Congress did vote yesterday to summon U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi to testify about the Epstein files. There are some saying the cover-up continues, that there are close to 50,000 missing pages that have yet to be seen. Is this Iran war going to act as a distraction from the Epstein files, or is the public not giving up?
Well, it's hard not to believe that some of what's happening in Iran is due to the Epstein files and due to, a lousy economy and all the other problems that, are surrounding this administration. I think Trump's also delusional, quite frankly. I mean, you mentioned that the approval rating of the war in Iran right now is at 34%. I think Trump, believes that that's fake news and that it's really like at 99%. I think he lives in a bubble. He surrounds himself with the Epstein class at Mar-a-Lago, and they just shower him with praise and, all kinds of platitudes and telling him how wonderful he is. I think he believes that, and that's his little comfort zone. I think he is totally detached from reality. He's totally detached from what's happening in this country. People are struggling. People are trying to pay their bills, afford groceries, and he doesn't even acknowledge that. He doesn't even acknowledge that life is difficult for anybody in this country. So he's living in a fantasy world, which is doubly dangerous. And I have no confidence that J.D. Vance has the guts to reel him in when he's going off on in this fantasy world. But the bottom line is somebody needs to reel him in and bring him back to reality, because not only are things difficult in this country, but the world is exploding, in large part because of his careless actions.
More coming up with Congressman Jim McGovern as we explore the broken promise of Maha with the latest farm bill, and a check-in about Texas primaries. Plus, a look under the roof of Jones Library's construction as they invite the community to participate in their top-off ceremony.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut, offering bundled lesson packages including rental equipment and lift tickets. Online registration available at skisundown.com. Winter made better. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Dean's Beans Organic Coffee, a locally based, worker-owned company committed to social and environmental responsibility, roasting fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee since 1993. DeansBeans.com.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, McGoverning with McGovern, I joked at the beginning that Robert F. Kennedy, the health secretary, is coming for your Dunkin' Donuts. It was only kind of a joke because last week Robert F. Kennedy did mention that they were going to ask Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks to show the safety data behind a lot of their sugary drinks. And the Farm Bill has been debated. I know this is something that you've cared about for a long time. You also said that the Farm Bill is a betrayal of MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, right, which is RFK's sort of rallying cry. You say it would prevent communities from regulating pesticides and allow more toxins dumped into the water. These are things that I think folks who have supported RFK Jr. when he was running for president care deeply about. Talk about the Farm Bill and some of the things that are causing you concern about this Farm Bill.
What causes me concern about this Farm Bill is that it does nothing to restore the $200 billion cuts in SNAP, which are going to go into effect next year. It does nothing to reverse the red tape and the new work requirements that have been put into place that have thrown countless people off the benefit already. So hunger is going to get worse as a result of this. Two, this is a giveaway to the pesticide industry. I mean, I made that point in a speech I gave at the opening of the Farm Bill. I mean, I don't agree with Maha on everything, but I agree with him on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they talked about was, in fact, making sure that, when we grow our food, that it is grown in a way that is safe. And this bill provides immunity and protection, legal protection, to the pesticide industry. They're free to do whatever the hell they want to do. Monsanto is jumping for joy today because of this Farm Bill. And I will tell you that I think this is the direct result of the money that these industries give to members of Congress. Now, we've talked about this before on this show many times, but the corruption that exists between big corporate interests and Congress, it's out of control. Follow the money. I mean, I would say the same thing about the war. The defense contractors in this country are cheering this on because they're making billions of dollars off this war. And in the Farm Bill, these pesticide companies could do whatever the hell they want, and there's a risk. We have scientific studies over and over again that show the link between Parkinson's and some of these chemicals that are used, to spray on some of our crops. It's like, what the hell's happening here, right? I mean, and I thought RFK, if there was any value to him, would be that he would be a check on some of this stuff. And he's not. I mean, he's doing jumping jacks with the Secretary of Defense. Okay, great. That's wonderful. But on stuff like this, where is he? On the issue of food security. I mean, part of the reason why people have bad diets is they can't afford good food. And yet he's quiet as they're dismantling the SNAP program. So again, there's a lot about Maha that I actually agree with. But I'll tell you, if I was a member of the Maha movement, I would feel betrayed right now by RFK Jr. and by this president.
It's interesting to note that one of the strongest supporters of Maha and MAGA and Marjorie Taylor Greene felt forced out of Congress and could have been a voice as a bulwark against some of this from the Republican aisle. There is, though, a midterm election, and things have already begun to heat up. Texas, there was a primary this week. Is this a litmus test for what's going to go on in the future? It seems like Democrats came out en masse, but there was some warnings from your colleague who lost in her Senate bid, Jasmine Crockett, of disenfranchisement when it comes to votes, some votes that wouldn't have been counted. She conceded because she says Texas is primed to turn blue and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. But tell me what you're thinking about what you've seen come out of Texas this week.
Well, I've seen a lot of enthusiasm come out of Texas. I've seen a lot of determination to show up and to participate, in these elections and to try to change the direction that this country is currently moving in. What I worry about in terms of the midterm elections, and, I can't even believe I'm saying this, I'm worried that Donald Trump is going to declare a state of emergency, that we're going to have troops or we're going to have Homeland Security at polling places to try to intimidate voters, to try to ask them for additional identification, to question people, to try to, again, scare people away from going to vote. That's what I'm worried about. I think these guys know that, if things continue to go in the direction that they're currently moving in, they're going to lose. They're going to lose, and they're going to lose big. I mean, the American people, in every poll that I have seen, are not only in disagreement with what is happening in Washington, they are horrified by what's happening, and they want to change, and they're demanding a change. And it's not just Democrats, and it's not just independents. There is a growing number of Republicans who are saying, I didn't vote for this. This is not what I wanted. And so they're showing up as well. And so how do you stop that if you're Donald Trump? I mean, you make things up. You make up a crisis. I mean, we went through January 6th, this made-up crisis, which resulted in people dying and, police officers being beat up and creating all this distrust in our electoral system. I think he will, go back to that page in his history and try to figure out a way to repeat it in the midterm elections. And we just have to be ready.
It's been quite a week with the world on the cusp of a major, major war in the Middle East. But to get through things like this, we must hold on to some semblance of hope. What is giving you hope this week, Congressman McGovern?
I think what's giving me hope is that people all across this country are reacting, are more engaged. I mean, our phones, in our Washington office and in our district office have been ringing off the hook. People have been weighing in and expressing their concerns. And during the Agriculture Committee bill markup last night, I was talking to some of my colleagues. Their phones are ringing off the hook. People are really concerned about this war. They're concerned about the direction of this country, and they are calling their representatives. They're putting pressure on their representatives. I think that makes a difference. And to the extent that continues, you're going to have some of these wobbly members of Congress who are going to try to figure out, how do I not cause any waves here, and how I vote, whether it's on Iraq or whether it's on, helping feed hungry people in this country. It's going to matter to them that constituents and people all across the country are caring enough to call in, weigh in, to visit them. And that political activism needs to increase. That's what democracy is about, and we need democracy now more than ever.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Congressman Jim McGovern joins us every week for McGoverning with McGovern. If you have a question for the Congressman, you can send it to me, and I will ask it next week. thefab413@nepm.org. We're in the middle of our spring fund drive, Congressman, so I think there's many people listening who would hope that the Congress turns blue and maybe restore some of the funding that we're trying to make up for right now. But we'll see.
I'm with you.
Thanks as always, Congressman.
All the best. Thanks.
Every time you chat with him, it's refreshing.
I like it to be refreshing. I think I hear a lot of feedback about people that are really appreciative of the fact that he's on every week because he's giving us what his perception is of what's going on in Washington, D.C., but it's not all doom and gloom. And I intentionally ask him what's giving him hope this week at the end because I think hope is something that we all need, no matter what your political proclivities may be.
Facts. And this next story might also be hopeful, and because we're heading to Amherst where the Jones Library is getting a complete revamp, and we'll let you know how you can be a forever part of the construction through their top-off ceremony.
You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by GZA Geoenvironmental, an employee-owned environmental consulting firm in Springfield and Syracuse, hiring entry-level to project managers in ecological and civil engineering to share in GZA's future. GZA.com.
This proves that we're at the location.
Yeah.
Okay.
That backup alarm says it all, but this is the first interview we've done where hard hats are necessary.
Yes.
You had to put yours on. I wonder if it'll fit over your dreads.
That's always the question.
What size fits most?
Nice.
It cranks up in the back.
We are in downtown Amherst at the Jones Library, where tomorrow there will be what's called a topping off ceremony, which sounds like something you want to have done to your glass of wine, but also something that you can have done to your library. And we are here with the library director, Sharon Sherry, and a coterie of other folks that are helping to bring this brand new Jones Library online.
Monty, thank you so much for being here.
This is my first library when I moved to the Valley. I lived right down the street on Main Street. We were broke, so we came to the library all the time for all of our educational and informational and entertainment needs.
Well, I think you're going to see a year from now how different it's going to be from what it was when you were growing up.
Was I growing up then? I was already in my
Yes,
20s.
no,
I
you
guess
were
so. I was
growing
still a
up.
baby,
You were
a
still
broke
growing
baby
up.
here. This is the superintendent of the new Jones Library project, Carl. What's your last name?
Bomir.
Because it's Amherst, this project was not without controversy about the funding and who would fund it, but there is a lot of funding that has come into play and still more funding to go. What's your name?
I'm Lisa DeGrace. I'm the development director for the Capital Campaign. And yeah, we have come an extraordinarily long way. And we have about just under $7 million left to raise to complete this thing, get it open to everybody, get it going.
What's the grand total for what you estimate the cost of the new library to be?
$46.1 million.
And so $7 million to go, and where's the other millions coming from?
Well, so it's kind of a third of a third and a third. So a third is coming directly from the town of Amherst. A third is coming from the MBLC, the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. And then the last third is coming from everybody else. We have had so many generous donations, foundation support. We had an NEH grant, which was unfortunately revoked. So that's an extra $1 million that we didn't initially plan on having to raise, but we're going and we're getting close.
What are some of the things that needed to be fixed at the library?
One of the things, I like to talk about a lot, which seems not that important if you have 2 feet that work, but everybody in this new and improved library is going to be able to walk through the front door. Whereas before, if you had a broken leg or had a stroller or were in a wheelchair, you had to go through the side entrance. Now we have removed the 2 front stairs, and the land will be raised so everybody gets to go through the front door.
So we're at the old footprint of the former Jones Library, and it is a construction site. There are fences up, there's a trailer. Carl, show us around. Tell us what you're working on right now, and what you're excited to show us.
Sure. Right now we are putting the new slate roof on. We're repairing the exterior trims. When the weather breaks, we're going to be repointing the stone masonry. We have a lot of underground work to do. We have electrical underground, new water supply from this town. In the back of the building, we're erecting the frame for the new addition.
Because that's another big part of it too. The Jones Library was always wonderful, but kind of small.
Yeah, so there's a huge addition on the back, a lot of extra space. It's 3 floors.
Sharon Cherry whispered in my ear, ask about historic preservation.
Let's broaden that. Let's talk about historical preservation and about ecological preservation, because I'm looking right at a sign that says tree preservation area with giant fences around it.
Those 2 trees in the front are very important to protect, so we're working around them. Same in the side, that big oak on the side, and there's several oaks in the back that all have tree protection around them.
And I'm imagining it would have been easier or cheaper to go with a non-slate roof that you were mentioning, but that's probably part of the historical preservation, or is it?
It is. So we're matching the existing slate roof with a brand new slate roof. A long, painstaking process to pick the right slate to match properly.
What are other historic preservation things you're doing here at the new Jones
Well,
Library?
the stone veneer here on the outside. All the windows are going to be historic replacement windows, matching exactly the original window. So everything in the front. So when you drive by the building, it's going to look exactly like it did originally when it was originally built.
When you go into the North Pleasant Street parking lot and look south at the building, that's where you see the new addition, and it's pretty incredible. It's large.
Can we look around at stuff? I mean, we've got the hard hats on in the vest. What can we go look at?
Let's go inside. There's a tremendous amount of preservation work going on the inside. There's not a lot to see because I have it all covered up and protected so that it doesn't get damaged through this process. But yeah, we can go inside and take a look around.
Let's do it. Sharon Cherry, Library Director of the Jones Library, which is under renovation. When was the original building built?
Oh, I want to say 1927.
It was very handy of the original builders to write it on the side of the building for just a time as this.
That's the cornerstone.
Are we going to have a new cornerstone?
No. You know what? I'm not sure. We have a cornerstone that we salvaged from the 90s edition. It's in my office. This is 1992 on it. So that stone was there. We've saved that. I don't remember seeing a new 2025.
Just make one, Carl. You're the superintendent.
That would be awesome.
Well, let me tell you, the design team doesn't like me making my own decisions.
Ah, yes.
It's also interesting that this building is only 100 years old.
I know. I mean, unlike the Greenfield Public Library, which went under, there was a brand new Greenfield Public Library. The building that they were using as a library was a George Washington era library, so much, much older. So here we are inside.
Elise was just looking up and saying, whoa at this. Can you explain what we're looking at up above? Because this is a really cool detail about old construction.
That's the concrete floor. That's the floor slab. So the ribs are the reinforcement for the slab. Usually there'd be like a structural steel with the concrete poured on top of the steel. This is all incorporated in one here. So the reinforcement is part of the slab itself.
Wow.
And that's new construction, or that's how it was?
That's how it was. That's 1927. That's it's a very early time for this type of concrete and steel. So this building is all steel frame, concrete reinforced. It's kind of the transition from a very early building, which would be masonry with wood frame floors and a wood frame roof. This is all concrete and steel.
That's really advanced for the time.
It is.
There was a fear of fire. There had been 2 fires previous, and so this was also a fire prevention strategy.
It makes sense. You got a lot of books here. As long as it doesn't get up to Fahrenheit 451, it won't catch on fire.
Before we lose Carl, I'd love to bring you into the front hallway, so you could talk more about the preservation of the woodwork.
Yeah, let's go. I love it when it's like this old house. So public media. If you remember this library, you will not recognize it right now. It is stripped bare to the bones.
This old house reference is spot on. It is like being in one of the early stages of their renovations. It's so cool.
Carl, you can be Norm and I'll be Bob Vila.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila.
Show us what you're preserving here.
Well, you see everything with the plastic over it. That's all historic woodwork that is being preserved. The
Custom
window
woodwork,
trims,
yeah.
it's the built-in bookcases. There's several fireplaces in here that are being protected. Stairs here, all these stairs are in rails and balusters, and it's all going to be restored.
You can now barely remember what the library used to look like when you walk in.
You know what's neat is on the other side of that plywood, so it was the atrium, which is gone, and now there's new steel beams coming up. But on either side of the opening, there is stone that's been exposed that Carl and his team found as they were taking things down to the studs. And so we're going to be able to preserve that, kind of encase it in fancy wood. And so people will be able to see it. It'd be really pretty.
Yeah, nice.
And aren't there a couple of places where what was the exterior of the building will now become an interior wall?
Yeah, definitely there is. There's actually sections of original roof that are going to become interior, and that'll be exposed as well, so that when you're standing out there in the big room, you can look back and you'll see the roof and the dormers. They'll be inside the building, and then originally they were outside. We can actually open this door now. I have a door here, Sharon, so we can look out here.
Everybody, even the people working on this project at the Jones Library, are going to get their first glimpse into what was the atrium and is now...
Whoa!
Right now it looks like a parking garage. Explain what this is all about.
This is the new steel structure for the addition. So we're looking out at metal decking that'll have concrete poured on top, concrete floors.
And then we can see the former exterior, the stone facade, that will then be an inside
so
part of the building.
The stone will remain exposed.
Sharon Cherry from the Jones Library, what was the square footage of the library before, and what will it be when this is finished?
I'm actually going to have George Hicks Richard answer that question.
Hi, George.
I believe the original square footage was 47,000, and the new will be around 63,000 square feet. So it's definitely a net gain. It'll be a lot more usable space as well, whereas the original 47,000 square feet, there was a lot of unusable space and a lot of small nooks and crannies. The renovated library will just have a lot more usable space in general.
What's your relationship to the library, George?
I'm the director of facilities and Sharon's left arm, as she likes to call it.
Who's your right arm?
It's true. My business manager.
Show us something else fun.
I think we should head upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to show us before you have to go do actual work, Carl?
I'll walk with you guys upstairs.
All right, cool. The original building was 1927. Will the new building be open for the 100th anniversary of the Jones Library?
Yes, February-ish of 27.
You on pace, Carl?
Yeah, we are.
Regardless of the weather.
So this space used to be tech services, behind the scenes, staff only, but now it's going to be a beautiful reading room. As Carl was saying before, all of the fireplaces are being preserved. It's covered up awesomely right now, but it will come back to life a year from now.
It's weird that they were so afraid of fire but had so many fireplaces. One great way to make sure your house is going to catch on fire is to put in a bunch of fireplaces.
I mean, well, not if you do it right.
Are these going to be working fireplaces or?
No.
These floors.
How about putting in some secret passageways from like fireplace to fireplace? That would be so very cool library thing to do. All the books in here that have all these adventure stories. Secret passages? Maybe, Carl?
I think Sharon's got a little secret spot in the basement.
Not anymore. It was Sharon's private bathroom, and now everybody knows about it.
Carl. There is a space that's going to get walled off, and we've been talking internally about having some kind of time capsule put down there, and it's going to be walled off, so it wouldn't be a time capsule that's opened, in 20 years. But someday, when none of us are around anymore, the building will have to be renovated somehow, and so maybe a librarian in 100 years will be able to see whatever it is that we've hidden back there.
God, I hope we have librarians still in 100 years. Tell us some of the things that you're excited about. You said it'll be open in February of 2027, about a year from now. You got $7 million left to go in the fundraising campaign. But what are some of the things that you as the library director are excited to be able to do with this new library when it's up and running in a year?
So I'll start on the first floor where the new children's room will be. And so the children's room is going to be the entire west wing of the building. So kids will get a glimpse glimpse of both the 1927 space and the 2027 space. And they're going to have their own activities room. I should also talk about all of the windows and the light that is going to be in this new building. Then I want to talk about the ESL space. There's going to be 4 tutor rooms, 2 classrooms, a reception space so that when tutors are coming to meet with their students, they'll have a place to sit, hang out, and talk a little bit. The teen space. My kid is 20 now, so she missed her opportunity, but this next generation of teenagers, they're going to have their own room, enclosed, so that the teens can be teens. They can be loud-ish, they'll be able to eat, there's a media station, so they'll be able to game, and then there's an entire maker space attached to it, and it's just for the teens. You and I, we don't get to go in this room.
That's a maker space, not a make-out space. That would have been my teenage years in the library.
Yes, times have changed.
Let's move away from that fan and talk a little bit more about what's going to happen tomorrow here at the Jones Library with the topping off ceremony, which is part of the reason why we're here. Lisa, tell us about this topping off ceremony.
It's actually a really simple tradition, but a tradition that it goes back, as I understand, more than 100 years. It is kind of a construction tradition that when you're getting to place the last beam or one of the last beams in this case, it gets signed by the community, which we have it out in the Amity Street parking lot, and it's there until Friday at 12 o'clock, and then it'll get moved back over here and it gets put up into place and we all cheer, and it's just a celebratory moment. We need these moments along the way, I think, to just like keep us going, keep us excited about what's going on. We were over there yesterday when people were coming up to sign, and it was kind of amazing the way people were just losing their minds a little bit in a good way about how excited they were about this new building. That UMass student with this, he was like, I'm bringing my grandma back. She brought me to the library all the time, and now I'm going to have her sign this beam. It's just so sweet.
Multi-generational. We saw dads come with their little kids, holding on to his hand, and they're signing their names. I also met with a woman who talked about how she raised her kids here in Amherst, and now they're all grown, and so she was signing her name and the names of her 3 children, because this is a really exciting moment for their family. So it's been very touching.
There's also full-blown drawings on that beam. You have at least a horse and an owl, and I think a couple of other things.
Creative.
Where did all your books go?
So the majority of our books are at our temporary spot at 101 University Drive. We also have some overflow in the basement of the Munson Library, and there are also some of our collections that may not be as circulated as others that are in deep storage up at the bunker that is owned by Amherst College.
Just to be clear, the library staff boxed up every single book and put it in the right place because they're organized, because they're librarians. And I mean, it was an amazing feat, and they're going to do that again a year from now.
Did they have to go back to the Dewey Decimal System?
Well, we never left the Dewey Decimal System.
Problematic as it may be.
Where are we now, and what are we going to look at, Sharon Sherry, from the Jones Library?
Right now, we are in the Goodwin Room, which is the board room. What's cool about this space, it will continue to be the board room in, a year from now, but there's a chandelier, which George can talk more intelligently about.
It's a gorgeous, very, very large chandelier that was gifted to the library when this one was constructed. It hung in this room for several years until the 90s renovation, and it was brought into what at that time was the Special Collections Department. We're bringing it back into this room. It's going to be restored, and it's going to hang in its original location.
We'll get Sia so she can swing from it.
One more highlight that I'd like to bring up is the Special Collections Department. It's about tripling in size from what it was before. And one of the most wonderful aspects of it is there's going to be a really large climate-controlled storage space. And so now, once we're done, we will actually be able to start collecting artifacts from today that really represent Amherst today. We haven't been able to collect and accept people's papers. It's really exciting to be able to see the Special Collections Department and Archive grow. Oh my gosh, the Civil War tablets.
Yeah.
Yes!
This has to do with Ancestral Bridges as well, right?
So that we have this incredible partnership with Ancestral Bridges. If you
Which is a museum that we've gone to. You can check out previous shows.
And not just go and read the stuff that's on the walls. You need to ask for Deborah Bridges, and you need to have her her walk you through the entire exhibit. You know, it started as just marble tablets that were on the floor, and she brought her family's history and she created this entire exhibit out of an inkjet printer and knowledge from her family.
It mostly lists people who served in the Civil War from this town, but mostly the Black community in Amherst. Their names are all listed there. They were originally in the town hall, but when they renovated the town hall, they were removed and they were stored. So when they were restored several years ago, there really wasn't a place to put them. So it's going to be amazing to actually have a home for them. We're going to keep them in perpetuity.
Find out more about the Massachusetts 54th and the people from Amherst that work here as a part of it.
I thought of it because you were talking about special collections and how special collections will be able to better represent the community. And the Civil War tablets is a great starting example of that work.
I expect to see in the Jones Library the special collection of the history of Dinosaur Jr. and maybe Pixies.
Here's an awesome opportunity, Dinosaur Jr. If you are out there listening, please come and contact us. We would love your papers.
Or a benefit concert.
I don't know if you could have a benefit concert in here. They're a little loud.
That's true.
Yeah. Should we go sign the beam?
Let's go.
Let's go sign the beam. All right, we're back outside. Jones Library, renovation underway. Across the street from the Jones Library, right next to Amherst Cinema in the parking lot there, is where this beam that you can sign until tomorrow afternoon will be.
Tomorrow at noon.
At noon. No later.
No later. So many more signatures than yesterday. Oh my gosh, this is exciting.
Go Libraries, says one of the statements. Someone will remember us, I say, even in another time. Our lovely book club. Libraries now, libraries tomorrow, libraries forever. They've all written on the beam. I wrote read banned books. Or maybe by the time this gets uncovered, they'll stop banning them.
Isn't that curious to think about them?
Yeah. My friend Christine just showed up to sign the beam.
I love this library because when I first came to the Valley, this was the first library I came to. I used to work in a library many years ago somewhere else, so libraries are very dear to me. And so it was just wonderful. And just to see that I get to sign it and be part of history is just very moving to me.
What are you going to write?
I don't know.
You're an improv comedian. You should think of something quick.
No pressure.
Be funny person.
Don't put her on the spot like that. That's not okay. She's not at work.
Well, thank you, Sharon Cherry, for giving us this tour of the Jones Library under construction. And this topping off ceremony with this beam that we just signed will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 2:30 sharp is when it will be raised and lifted and put into place. Wear your boots, because I think it might be a little sloppy, but please come. I think it will be a really wonderful event.
There we go, building the special collection for Dinosaur Jr. as we speak. Thanks again to Sharon Cherry, the director of the Jones Library in Amherst, the development director, Lisa DeGrace, the facility supervisor, George Hicks Richards, and the project supervisor, Carl Beaumier, who is my Mr. This Old House of that project.
Yes, indeed. You get to be Nom.
No, he's Norm. And I'm Bob Vila.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine, too. On the next Fabulous 413, we speak with the governor, Maura Healey, about the state of our Commonwealth and more.
And we'll head to State Street Fruit Store, Deli Wines and Spirits for another Wine Thunderdome. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Clee Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.